All right, welcome back to the Slot One Super Podcast. This is episode 24.
Yes.
And we got a pretty big reveal yesterday. And again, I want to thank everyone for stopping by. Before I go into the main stuff, of course, I have my two fantastic, amazing, awesome co-hosts. We have the Mass Ningen and Dokkan Assets.
Bro, I'm getting gassed up right now, bro. Thanks, man.
He's spitting, so he's spitting.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Thank you.
So it's my pleasure. You guys are great.
Are you working at Chick-fil-A?
All right, man. You can laugh, but do you even get the joke, bro? You're in the UK.
Nope.
Oh yeah, that's a joke.
I
know, right?
Crazy.
It's one of those haha. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
surely. Look at this guy. But of course, we pushed back the podcast by a day. Obviously, you can see it's Saturday, at least in my time, compared to Friday, because of the reveal last night. And oh boy, I'm sure glad we did that. So.
Yeah.
We do have a couple of things to go ahead and talk about before we head into that main topic. But we just want to let y'all know, if you want to go ahead and support the podcast, any donos and super chats will be read out at the end of the stream. But we appreciate all of you for showing up here today. Now, first things first, we'll talk about the first thing that was revealed this past week, which was the LR pajamas Beerus, EP Beerus. I think the global name is the nightgown Beerus or whatever, but he did get his details announced on the Twitter, which was at an unexpected time. And he doesn't seem that great right now. Keep in mind, he will be getting an EZA, but Ningen, I know you were up, I believe, when his details came out. I think there was some confusion about the details. But let me know what you think about the Sleepy Beerus guy.
EP boy. Yeah, he very cool. It's an interesting choice for an LR because obviously, when it comes to the free LRs that we get every year. Oh, is Ningen breaking?
I can't hear Ningen. I said Ningen.
I know you said Ningen, and I started talking, but my mic was muted, and then Theo just started talking. I was like, okay.
I was like, no, I just didn't want there to be dead space, so I was like, well, he's not working, so I'm just gonna pick up the slack, bro.
Okay. I was
Ningen go first. I was just like, well, his mic broke, so I'm not gonna let nothing happen.
Yeah, you gotta keep going. Start Ningen. You gotta.
I know, right?
You gotta pick up the slack, but no.
What do you think about the new EP Beerus, man?
Yeah, so the thing that I said when I saw the details is I think his design has potential, but obviously, like you said, he's just not good at the moment. But I mean, that's usually the way it goes for these free-to-play LRs in the anniversary, right? Because obviously he's going to get an EZA, and then hopefully that is what makes him actually good. Because it's interesting, the idea of he can't, we have those standby type characters already where they can't attack and they're just defensive units, and then it finishes with an attack. So it's interesting that he kind of starts off like that, but just without it being a standby. So he can't attack for a couple of turns. He just tanks, and then when he wakes up has the taunt thing. I think that's cool. It's just obviously with his kit the way it is at the moment, he's not quite good enough, because turn one, I think he has is it 30% damage reduction, or is it 30? Yeah, and then he loses 10% each turn, which means on the next appearance he's only going to have 10% damage reduction. So with the free to, even though he's an LR with free to play stats and everything, he's not going to be the kind of unit that you just put in slot one in a difficult event and it's oh yeah, he could get supered in slot one, it's fine, because he won't be that good defensively. So it's an interesting design for a unit's kit, but it needs to, I feel like it's one of those things that would just be better on a better unit, right? Because he needs to be better. He needs to be stronger defensively, higher stats, higher defense, higher damage reduction, which hopefully is what we'll see with his EZA. But I mean, I think he has potential. And then obviously, I'm sure we'll let Theo get into this, because I know he was big mad. He's one of the people leading the charge during the worldwide celebration. But the fact that they gave this guy a different name just because he's in his pajamas, but we don't get Fusion Zamasu half corrupted, I think it's hilarious. So, but yeah, I'll let you go on for that one. But yeah, I think he's all right. He has potential, but his EZA is like make or break, right? Because if his EZA doesn't make him that much better, then he just won't be that good, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately. I mean, yeah, so like obviously that the whole name thing is just absolutely ridiculous that out of all characters, right, to give a different name, like there's been so many times throughout Dokkan history where they're like, oh, we could easily give this guy a different name and make him link with the rest of the characters in the game, right? Like I know like example that comes to my mind every single time I think about that is last year's Part 2 units, right? Where they could have called them like LRZ fighters or something rather than just base Goku or something. There's so many instances where Dokkan could have just gave them a different name so that they would actually link. But of all things, everything that they could have picked, Pajama Beerus literally in a different outfit. It's just so funny. I want to know what goes through the devs' minds when they make these decisions, man, because it's just absolutely so goofy. But I'm glad that he has a different name because obviously that just makes him more versatile, right? Like I don't think it's a bad thing that he has a different name. It just thinks that other characters don't, and obviously it's like, bruh. So I don't know. Maybe they will go back and update some of the characters in the future. That would be awesome. Only time will tell because I know like on every survey we basically talk about that where we like suggest that to the devs. So I don't know, maybe they'll eventually do it because obviously they've taken a lot of feedback recently, have been doing some stuff with that. But otherwise, on the man himself, yeah, I do hope that his EZA makes him a lot better because obviously at the moment he's not great. Obviously being the funny animation man, I will say I was actually pretty impressed with this guy's animations. Obviously he is free to play, so it's not on the same tier as Sonable units, but yeah, they're actually really good. I'm not gonna lie. I was watching through them and I was like, wow, I'm honestly pretty impressed. There were a couple scenes too that I noticed that were like ripped directly from the anime, so that was also cool to see. Like the scene where he yawns like super big, like frame for frame almost from the anime. So that was really cool to see. But yeah, definitely a fun choice for obviously a free to play LR, and not to mention, right, it's cool to see that they're kind of doing a little bit of representation for like all of the like, well, I guess except for the Goku Black arc, but that was worldwide, so I guess that's kind of why. But they're sort of doing representation for all of the major like super arcs. Also, I guess, except for 6 for 7. But besides the point, right? It's so cool to see in some capacity they're kind of giving a little bit of light on all of these different things. So yeah, definitely I like this guy quite a bit.
I saw a
It's
thing
very cool.
somebody posted as well. I think apparently his 18 key super where he like grabs them by the face and like flies forward and then is like punching them on the floor is almost like scene for scene the same as a bit from the manga where he's fighting Vegeta, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
I think
because we've seen a few
yeah.
manga references like super attacks like the AGL Zamasu and stuff. So I think stuff like that's really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do that more. Like if they're not going to do manga supers, surely they should, or not like, not like pure manga units is what I mean, right? Like where it's, literally a character from the manga. They should at least do that where they reference, just like different scenes and then use that as the material for the super attack. I don't know why they don't do that more. The only other time I can really think of is like AGL Zamasu. But yeah, very cool though.
Oh, I muted. My bad. So,
see, it's not just me that does it.
All right. Well, that means later I'll have to mute so we can complete the trifecta.
So yeah, again, this Beerus looks interesting, right? I think he has potential. Keep in mind, in part 3, he should EZA. If I was gonna say any changes, I would like to see from his EZA specifically, make that damage reduction at least 50%, like just in both forms, and then don't make him lose the damage reduction. But even if it's like 50% that he gets, then that means no matter what, by his turn 5, he'll still have at least a little bit of reduction. Ideally, they make the damage reduction rate don't go like to 30. Maybe it could be lower than like, so it could be like 50% reduction, then he loses 20%. I think that would be ideal, and then he keeps 30%. But the main part of that is that, when you get him into his awoken state and he actually attacks, I think that's the most important part. This guy needs to have at least, I think, 60% reduction for that first turn. Or it could be a thing where it's like he has 20 to 30% baseline reduction. Then for the first turn, he has 30% damage reduction. Make him build attack and defense with each attack he receives. And then it's like, since he's targeting all the attacks towards him, he'll usually like live like all those attacks that are targeted towards him. And then his defense will be a lot higher the next turn, even though he has less damage reduction, right? I think that's probably what they'll do with his EZA, because we've seen a lot of times characters like pre-EZA and post-EZA like make a big difference. They usually add like an entirely just new line in the passive that make them like that make or break thing in it. I feel like they do that so much with EZA, so we'll see what this guy's gonna end up being. But I think it's a very interesting design where it's like, he doesn't attack until later on in the battle where he like, where it's like actually really, really tough. So that is a cool thing. But that's all we have to talk about this Beerus. I'm assuming I don't think you guys have anything else to really comment about him. I'm assuming so, right?
No.
It looks cool though.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Like he's just not good enough as it is, but he's gonna get his EZA. No one's really gonna use him properly until he gets his EZA anyway, right? So it's really not the end of the world. But I guess we'll obviously talk about him when he does get his EZA. But
I do agree. All right, so next we have some events. Well, specifically one event came out this past week. It was the it was the Dragon Ball Super Memorial Battle where we fought Blue Gogeta and Dragon Ball Super Broly. And it seems like these stages might be the hardest stages in the game. Now, I'm not sure if Dokkan has played it, but I know Ningen played Ningen, you played that event, I'm assuming so, right?
I did, but on the private server. I tried it on my account, but it was too hard.
All right, let's not even talk about that. But, I think that this event is really, really tough. So the Broly fight specifically does use the round skill or the territory skill map. I keep calling it round skill, but it's the territory skill now. And it's very interesting where they're both kind of gross. I found the Broly fight harder than the Gogeta fight, but what do you think about that, Ningen, between the two fights? Which one do you feel is the harder one?
I guess like technically Broly is harder because the final stage disables dodge, whereas Gogeta doesn't at all. But I mean, it could just be the team that I used, but I beat Broly on the first attempt and was like, oh, people said this was hard. But then to be fair, I was using the LR Super Saiyans team with Broly and Gogeta on it. So obviously, potentially one of the best teams in the game.
Rainbowed.
Yeah, exactly. So, so that, for that kind of thing.
I beat it on the private server first try.
Yeah, I did. So, there you go. Look, Truth Junior. You don't need to copy everything he says, okay? Like
come on, can I joke around, man? Let's joke.
Right. So, but yeah, like obviously I would say on paper, like Broly will be harder because of not being able to cancel, because you can't dodge at the end. So it makes things like Gogeta's taunt and stuff a little bit like redundant, as well as obviously any characters who rely on dodge in order to be like good defensively you can't use. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. They hit incredibly hard with their supers. I think they can double super in one of the phases, which I hadn't realized until I'd like run it back with a different team afterwards. One thing I will say, which I think is great, is I got to bring him up. Annie brought him up in the chat anyway when we were talking about the animations. But I just want to say, because, we got to get the heroes. We got to get a heroes reference in there somewhere. I am absolutely loving the fact that Super Saiyan 3 Rosé is just feasting in this celebration. This man's stocks are going up and up and up, because in the Gogeta event, in the first two phases, you fight an enemy whose name includes Goku. So he gets his extra super in his Super Saiyan 3 form. And then once he transforms into full power, the second phase and the final phase are against the Super Saiyan Blue enemy. And then obviously we had like the last two out of the three Blue Zone stages were against either Goku or a Super Saiyan Blue or both. So loads of these new events are coming out, like the new hard content, and our boy Super Saiyan 3 Rose is just getting better and better to use in those events.
Goat.
I mean, in general, villains are just getting a lot because it's like super class enemies.
Yeah, exactly.
Enemies, but, right?
But yeah, him specifically, because like when he came out, that part of his passive, when you look at like the meta that was available on release for him, it was like versus a Goku enemy, and then after he transforms versus a Super Saiyan Blue enemy, and it's like, oh, great. When can I ever use that? Whereas now all of this stuff is coming out. And it's like,
content, right?
Which is good.
Like,
it's good that they plan that kind of stuff in advance, right? Because it means it was a bit of a weird decision when he came out, but now we're like reaping the benefits of it, rather than them doing it the other way around, and then the unit doesn't age well because content comes out that isn't designed for them. So I do quite like that approach. But yeah, I thought the event was cool. Obviously, it's very interesting the fact that they are going to give away the EX skill orbs for Carnival, the 2 Carnival LRs through that event, which means we should get the update to the anniversary event for the Dokkan Fest ones, and we're getting them for the Part 2 Carnival, well, Part 1 and 2 Carnival LRs as well. So I thought that was pretty awesome.
That is cool.
And then obviously the only other thing was, as we now know in retrospect, we were indeed correct, but like that event coming out was literally like the final nail in the coffin, that Part 2 absolutely was going to be Beast Gohan, because it's like the Dragon Ball Super movies event, and there's only 2 Dragon Ball Super movies, and they'd already done one of them. So
the reason why we also knew they were going to add new stages is because the event, like what's it called, the
banner thing changing,
the banner was gonna change, right?
Because the event coming out was already a hint in and of itself, but then somebody posted that thing saying that the event was definitely getting new stages. Because on the one hand, you could have said like, oh well, it's just going to be Broly versus Gogeta, and it's going to be one of those events that they never update for like 2 years. But yeah, as soon as we found out it was getting new stages, then obviously there's like nothing else it could have been, basically. So
exactly,
very cool.
So that's very, very interesting. But meanwhile, there is actually some extra content that's coming out tonight. I just want to quickly touch on, because we'll talk about it more in depth tonight. But since we're in the topic, next week, my bad. Since we're in the topic of new content, there is 3 new stages coming to the Blue Zone, the Supreme Battle Spectacle.
Let's go.
We're fighting against, from what I see, Trunks from Dragon Ball Future, the Future Saga and Dragon Ball Super. They're fighting against Blue Evolution Vegeta and UI Goku. So there are 3 stages coming tonight in the Blue Zone, which are going to be more super class stages. You have more Super Saiyan Blue enemies, you have more Goku enemies, right? So we'll see how hard those stages are. The Blue Goku and Goku stage was pretty tough, right? But since you could lower his attack, he was kind of a gimmicky fight. So hopefully these fights are actually really, really on par. And then obviously ending off with UI Goku, I'm assuming that maybe we'll even get 2 more stages in part 3 against Blue Gogeta and Beast Gohan, but we'll have to wait and see how that happens. But there are 3 new stages coming tonight, literally in about like 10 hours from this specific like time that we're live. Then there's also the Ultimate Excite Battle that's getting stage 2. Stage 1 was when we were against Jiren and we had to use all those different categories. But now stage 2 is against, I believe, a Broly, and it's actually against. You have to use all those same categories, so all those different teams that you had to use, right?
Again?
Yep. From what I see in the missions, it's every single team. So from what I understand, the missions give you a total of about 15 stones, and then you get
Something
some
like that,
medium link skill orbs, which are really, really cool.
Yeah.
Then beyond that, there is the new Extreme Z battle we'll talk in a moment about, but that's pretty good. We just have tons of new missions where we just want to clear the new content. We have the Beerus Awakening, the Frieza Awakening we'll talk about in a second, and then a Gogeta EZA. And that's pretty much it. I think there's one other thing I wanted to mention, but just escaped my mind. But that is pretty much everything that is coming in terms of content later tonight. Because today is when part 2 actually starts, right? This is the official start date for part 2. So that's very, very exciting. But yeah, so again,
EZA comes out as well, doesn't it? In like 10 hours or whenever it is,
The EZA, literally, actually, the EZA comes out in about 11 and a half.
The EZA comes out after, at the usual time. But so it's 2 hours after all the part 2 stuff drop. So, I mean, I guess I'll say I'll be live tonight for that to do all the content. So, Anyways, and one last thing I do want to talk about is some EZAs, right? So we do know that well, at least 2 EZAs and another free awakening. We'll talk about the free characters just really quickly. I mean,
Yeah.
we got the first form Frieza awakening. Doesn't really seem to be anything special, but he could be potentially interesting when he EZAs in part 3. This guy actually has a scouter against a pure Saiyan or movie hero's enemy. When he's on the rotation. So it says foresees enemy super attack when there's a pure Saiyan or movie heroes category enemy. So again, we're getting a lot of those enemies. So if this guy has stacking defense and the guard or damage reduction, he gives really good support, right? He could be an interesting character. But I don't think there's like really much to say because he still sucks right now. You know what I mean? So it's nothing really interesting besides the scouter. But we'll see how that looks like.
Yeah.
And then we have the EZA for the base Gogeta. Again, I know Ningen, you said that you didn't really see any translations or read anything about it. So I'll just cover real quick because again, he did get his EZA. Now he has 19% chance to dodge when he supers. So if he double supers, he can get a 38% chance to dodge. It's greatly raised attack and defense for the turn, right? But besides that, they didn't really change much about him pre-EZA and post-EZA. He gets 19 attack. Now he gets 19% attack and defense per key sphere, and then another 9% if there's a superheroes or move heroes ally. Super effective when he gets 5 or more key spheres, and he still has that crit with 9 key spheres. But he doesn't really seem good to me. But who knows? We'll see. But to me, he seems very underwhelming. Because like, oh, he's gonna do like a 5 mil attack stat. Super effective, maybe higher, like 6 mil, super effective. Then it's like he has like 300k defense with like a 90% chance to dodge, right? You know? Well, he seems like he's gonna be underwhelming to me because he doesn't have multiplicative stats. So, and his passive, anyways, that's what really hurts him. So that free to play Gogeta is definitely, unfortunately, mid, in my opinion.
No, it can't be.
Now we have the main EZA of the hour, which is the Blue Kaioken Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta EZA, which was announced yesterday, and we actually even had the data download for it. So me and Ningen, I know we both went ahead to use that character. I just want to say they're busted. They're just insane. I'll let Ningen talk about the experiences about him, and then I'll give my own comments regarding it too.
Yeah, so yeah, dude, they snapped in this with this EZA. It is so good. They are basically the LR Super Saiyan trio from December, but potentially just better, maybe, because instead of needing to get multiples of 3 orbs to get an additional attack, they just need to get a rainbow orb for each potential additional attack, and they create them themselves.
And keep in mind, the additionals pre-EZA used to be normals, just normals.
Yeah, exactly.
But now they have a high chance to be a super.
Yep. So they're pretty crazy. So I did my showcase for them. I used them on the Blue Goku and Vegeta team from the Worldwide. They're a 200% lead for them. They share 6 links with them. The Worldwide guys can just go in slot 1. And then, yeah, these guys in slot 2 consistently hitting like 18 to 20 million with no support. For the 18 key super, and then the additionals are doing like 10, 11, 12, like if you are getting supers. Each one of those additional supers is greatly raising their defense. So I think I saw the calcs for like, if you do have a support unit on the rotation, because obviously they are a nuking style unit, so that's always going to make the numbers like shift a little bit. But with support on the rotation and getting like 6 orbs, even if they only do 1 additional super, they have like 1.1 million defense. And they get 7% damage reduction with each rainbow orb you pick up. So for my experience, the average pretty much every turn was 3. Sometimes you can get 4. And then obviously you can get that like crazy turn where I had them on rotation with Gogeta, where there were so many rainbow orbs, they could actually get just the run of 5. And then obviously that gives them 35% damage reduction. Although it does give them less overall stats because they only picked up 5 orbs. But yeah, on some of the turns I got with them, I was getting like 10 orbs and they were getting 3 rainbows. So they got 21% damage reduction. Their post-super defense is like 1.5 million or something if they've done a couple of supers. They tanked a super from, trying to remember whether it was Broly or Gogeta, because I took them into both the Broly and Gogeta events, and that video will be coming out tomorrow. But they after supering, they just double-digit tanked a super from either Broly or Gogeta, which I thought was pretty crazy.
Pretty nice, dude.
Yeah, they're ridiculous. And then, of course, there's the active skill turn. Minato, I know you got a better turn than this. I think somebody told me in my comments. Obviously, you can tell us about that. But they get that massive attack buff. I didn't have like a crazy amount of support or anything for them on that turn, but they still got like, it was like 30 million or something. And then their additionals are doing like 18 or something. And one of the things I will say, I said this on Twitter, I think their design is so well done because of the active skill. We all know that with EZAs, they can't change their active skill condition or effect. And so one of the things that was always annoying about this unit is their active skill gives them a massive attack buff, but it nerfs their defense by a pretty significant amount. And their active skill condition is them being below 50% or less HP. So they added in a thing into their passive so that when you get to 50% or less HP, then they get 70% damage reduction on that turn. So you go ahead and now it is, I know we did say it doesn't activate until they super. So
yeah, because
that can be
24
that can be awkward because obviously they you know, if there's AoEs, there's probably the only type of attacks they're really not going to be good against, even not on the active skill turn. But what that means is, as long as they're in slot 2, which is where you're probably going to use them anyway, let's say you do get that average turn where you pick up 3 rainbow orbs, it means their defense bottoms out completely, but then after they super and they get their defense buff from their supers, they can still get up to like 300-400k, but if you picked up 3 rainbow orbs, they have 91% damage reduction, because they still get the 21% from the 3 rainbow orbs on top of that 70%. So even if they only have like 300k defense, they got 91% damage reduction. So yeah, ridiculous.
I do want to know, insane. In terms of how the game actually does work, technically it wouldn't be 91% because they're in different phases. So it's like how it works is because they're in different phases, the damage reduction is actually, you don't add them together. It's actually less than just adding them together because they're in different phases, just how like multiplicative passives work. So it's a kind of weird, but it's not as high as 91%, but it's still probably around like 85% damage reduction anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
So it's like it takes off like 70% and then it takes off like 21% or whichever order, like...
No, because I Proton, I heard that it was I heard like Future Gohan is not additive, but if Proton said it was additive, I heard that it was not additive from
there you go.
Sora in the past told me that, but well,
if Proton says it is, if Goton,
I mean, Proton is
I
the one who knows. I was gonna say I am right. Yeah, so I'm gonna say with Proton saying they are additive, so yeah, it would be 91% reduction.
Yeah, so that is just a really smart way of getting around the fact that they can't change the active skill effect, right? So rather than they get this active skill effect that is kind of detrimental to them, so then instead they add in something into their EZA passive that kind of counteracts that, which is actually, I think, very clever like design. Like I think that's very good. So yeah,
the thing is that
super good.
They added just so much to their kit that they didn't have to. Like, didn't have to make the additionals high chance be super. They could have been like medium chance.
Could have medium, and they still would be great. But yeah,
I mean, the rainbow orb changing with the superheroes category on the team, they didn't need to add that, but they wanted to, so they gave them that, which is insane because like that now that they're their own rainbow orb changer. They don't need another.
And it's an ability that they're gonna get that for free because it's like who are their best link partners? Like anyone who's a Super Saiyan Blue Saiyan essentially is basically from Dragon Ball Super, unless it's specifically like a movie character.
Or the UI Goku's Blue Gogeta, Blue Goku and Vegeta, the Vegeta Blue, right? STR Blue Falcon Goku. Yeah, it's just like you're good. It's
just free. Right? Oh, and the other thing as well, we talked about. I know you posted yours and I posted mine. The hidden potential builds on Twitter. They get guaranteed crits if you get 24.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that.
And they get 3 keys.
That's wild.
Yeah, was the guaranteed crits. So that's the stupidest thing they added.
I think out of all the turns I had, I did that original showcase and I did the Broly and Gogeta events. I think I had 1 turn in the entire one of those runs where they didn't get 24 key. So it's basically free. So like, well, yeah, it's just a really bad like orb turn, you know, when you get like really bad RNG. But even then, they still got 21. So they're like one orb away, one rainbow orb away, basically. So yeah, they basically get guaranteed crits almost for free. So their hidden potential just doesn't need crit at all. Which means a lot of this is one of those units that post EZA, a lot of people are going to have to change, because pre EZA, you definitely wanted a lot of crit. So yeah, I've switched their skill orbs. They're on Broly's banner, aren't they? So it's one of those things where I'm not going to bother spending stones to change their hidden potential now, because when the anniversary rolls around, I'm sure before I pull Broly, I'll end up pulling multiple copies of them. So so I think at the moment they're at like 21 additional 3 crit and then like 11 dodge or something. So
I use stones. I don't care. I'm at filthy well.
Fair
oh
enough.
no,
crazy.
15 stones are gone. That's not going to be the difference.
What a whale over here.
Yeah.
I had extra copies, but I like keeping the SSR still. I'm confident there's going to be the chain battle replacement, and you have to use those extra copies. Then I'll succeed again. But one thing we didn't talk about that they added, well, I think 2 things that we could also add into this is their 18 key super attack went from greatly raise attack and defense to massively raise attack and defense, just like they did with Broly Trio. So they get 50% extra stats in their 18 key super attack.
100%.
Then I think one of the most important things that they added, even beyond like the additional super chances and rainbow orb changing, is they gave them a multiplicative buff in their passive. They get 70% attack and defense when keys 18 or more. So that is activated when keys 18 or more. That is only seen when they're attacking. So that is a multiplicative buff of 70%, right? So that's why their stats get over 1 million defense pretty easily. That's why they're hitting so hard. I mean, I know you ran them on the Blue Falcon, the Blue Goku Vegeta team. I actually ran them on the Tournament of Power Androids team. So mine were doing 21.4 mil attack stats. I'm literally looking at my video right now. The 21.4 mil, they were linked with Blue Falcon and Goku. They got like 7 orbs or so. Then when they got their additional super attack, I kept getting unlucky with the normals. I kept getting the additional normals throughout most of the video. They could have looked way better. But on the additional super attacker, they got a 13.7 million additional super. Then on the turn, the turn that your comment was talking about, where I got like a mega turn, it was a turn with Blue Falcon Goku's active skill, their active skill, and then the androids had their full support passive up. So on that turn specifically, they hit, if we take a look here, a 38.1 million attack stat.
That's crazy.
Which is absolutely insane. Then I think they got 2 additional supers, a 24 million attack stat additional super.
Jeez.
Wow.
And then they did another one with the hidden potential one, which is 26 million. Yep. So on that turn, I think someone said that it was 86 million total damage.
Oh my god!
And that's all guaranteed crits, as well. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just
that's disgusting.
This unit is likely just because the only reason why the Super Saiyan Duo might be better is because they have that turn 3 guaranteed active, which is just busted. Right, that active skill, and then it activates their stats sort of turn, and then the damage reduction is free. But the thing about the Super Saiyan Duo that I experienced so much, especially with Gogeta on the team, is that like Gogeta could change it in orbs, and then you're like, right, and then he in orbs specifically.
If you run God Goku on the Super Saiyan's team as well, like he can change the in orbs to physical and stuff. Yeah, it's super annoying.
Because they only get their 3 keeper key sphere on int key spheres, right? Yep. While this character is like with rainbow key spheres, that's only helping the team and helping themselves, since they don't need a specific type key sphere, right? Rainbow key spheres are just easier to kind of like aim for if you're rainbow key sphere changing, right? Because there's no unit that, well, there are units that change rainbow key spheres to other typings, but not on the Super Saiyan's team, for instance, or not on any of these guys' teams, right? That you would actually use. So, I mean, also, Future Gohan changes int key spheres to STR when his domain is up. So there's like situations where I run into difficulty with key for them. The Super Saiyan Trio. That's the only thing I want to point out. But I think this unit might literally just be a more consistent version of what they're doing, because defensively they're just stronger than them too, I feel like, right? In a lot of turns, even with only 3 key spheres, their defense stats are just so much higher. And then I feel like the guaranteed crits obviously are just better than super effective, right? I mean, they're just going to do more damage. This character even has debuffs in certain enemies.
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna say, if you
this
can
character against
attack,
the Blue Falcon fight.
Well, that's the thing.
This character is going to destroy that fight.
Yeah, like I always really liked this unit. I feel like longer than a lot of other people because when it came to doing back in the day when obviously a lot of them were still a challenge, when it came to doing some of the Super Battle Road no item runs, like in Extreme Super Battle Road, the Realm of God stage, I remember when that one came out, it was quite hard. But these guys, because they lower attack, like if they got a couple of super attacks, because they were raising their own defense and lowering the enemy's attack, they were tanking for double digits with no items active, which at that time in that stage was like really impressive. So this is a unit that I've been like super looking forward to their EZA, and I'm really glad that they did such a good job.
I think they're better now, like retrospectively, like they're better in how the game meta is right now than it was when they originally released, potentially because they had issues with getting the rainbow key spheres and then they couldn't even get the additional supers. But now they're like arguably like top 5 in the game, like probably.
It's so funny to see like a unit get exactly what they needed in an EZA, right? Because it's like anytime they got mentioned in like potential EZA kind of discussion, people are like, oh, they need a rainbow orb changer to be good or whatever. It's like, oh, well, now they just make their own rainbow orbs. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So like people Gogeta's going to be perfect for this guy's EZA, and it doesn't even matter now.
Yeah, I mean, he helps because he just makes even more. And then, like that rotation with both of them on, because they have those ways to get so much extra key. It's like they both just get 24 key, like for free, practically. It's ridiculous.
In general, like the Androids team is probably so much better now because there's no AoEs. So it's like we're not getting AoE bosses anymore.
Yep.
And maybe if we get like AoE boss, but like because they're not giving us like an AoE boss like every other month now, unlike in 2023, that in Androids team, like so we have Blue Kalkin Goku, we have Evolution Blue Vegeta and Kalkin Goku, right? Yeah, the S tier Blue Kalkin Goku, S tier UI, this character, the androids. And then if we get EZA UI Goku, and then we also get a EZA for in Blue Evolution Vegeta, that team might be like a top 3 team in the game. If like, because Blue Kalkin Goku, he's still able to be fine. He's still able to be good, right? You just have to kind of hide him a little. But the rest of the team is just cracked, right? I'm assuming EZA UI Goku and Blue Evolution Vegeta are going to be really good. It just makes a lot of sense to me that they're going to be good. But yeah, I mean, what a crazy busted EZA. This is, with how strong these EZAs are being, man, this is shaping up to be like the best anniversary.
Yeah, dude, every anniversary every EZA in this anniversary has been really good. Like
there has not been a bad summonable EZA. Asteroid Goku is amazing. Paragus and Broly are good. I think Bardock and Ningen are good. Broly trio, and then this guy. Yeah,
it's like even whichever one you want to consider the worst one is still good, which we found. You think about like some of the EZAs from the worldwide celebration, and it's like these are just all like they're just all in that upper half of the like good to bad like scale.
The upper echelon,
Think of last year's anniversary. We got Physical Super Vegito and S tier Boo. And it's like they could be good, when you get them like, in certain situations. But then now these guys are just like, no, they're good. They're top 10. They're cracked, right? UI Goku, Broly Trio, and this character is like a top 10 character. Then last year we had Spirit Bomb Goku, which was decent. And then Blue Kalkin Goku, which was good, honestly. But he didn't have a place. But now this guy actually has a place, the Blue Kalkin Goku. And it's like, I just think it doesn't compare last year's EZAs this year. It's like a 9-day difference. Easily. Easily. It's crazy. Yeah, Bardock and Gina are good. That multi-turn support that's multiplicative is just kind of cracked. And they get over mill defense, right? So they can't eat supers, but they could like tank normals pretty easily. So
yeah.
I like them. But yeah, that is all there is for this Blue Kalkin Goku and Evolution Blue Vegeta EZA. That does come out tonight in about like 11 hours. The weakness is Realm of God, so that's going to be just like a cakewalk to go ahead and get out.
I got the team building guide for that going up after the podcast. So stay tuned for that one. It'll have a thumbnail this time.
Yeah.
My Broly Trio one I put up at the wrong time without a thumbnail.
Right? So that is unfortunate.
All right, so I know it's a time that we've all been really waiting for, the main time of the podcast.
Yes, sir.
Part 2
to talk about LR Ribrienne coming out on Global. Let's go.
The part 2 LRs revealed yesterday. And we're finally getting him. It was confusing at first. People were thinking maybe it was Beast and Orange based on the card art, but no. It is confirmed that the name of the card is just Beast Gohan.
Mm-hmm.
So we have them, Beast Gohan, and then obviously we got the Gammas too, but we'll talk about them after. This character is a character we've been waiting for so long, and I think it's really cool that, keep in mind, this Orange Piccolo's on the card, but it is just a unit super attack. I wonder if it's gonna be like, imagine it's the first voiced like actual super attack that has a voice somehow.
That would be amazing.
That'd be kind of crazy, right? Because it's like really interesting that they wouldn't give that a voice, but you know, it's just a unit super attack specifically when you have Piccolo in rotation, which, you know, LR Orange Piccolo still really good. Maybe for a banner unit we'll go to Piccolo, but we'll talk about that. But I mean, I hope this guy is just the best unit in the game, just like kind of clear, right? He's the Dokkan Fest LR. His banner is probably going to be cracked too. It's just, there's a lot going on with Beast Gohan here, and I think I am very, very excited for that. But what are you guys thinking? Yo, yeah. And me and you have been yapping this whole podcast, and Theo's been there, right?
Yeah, it's my turn to yap now. Oh man, so yeah, obviously, I streamed my reaction as well last night. Funny enough, I have a little a little clip of my reaction going up on Twitter and YouTube here in a little bit too. But yeah, obviously, oh, I think Ningen is muted. Well, I guess it doesn't matter at this point, but the chat is saying that Ningen was muted.
Of course.
Yeah, I got the data download on you.
That's fine.
Uh-huh. Whoa. Oh, and then you forget to unmute it. I got you. Well, it'd be like that. I think honestly,
OBS, that's why.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, it'd be like that sometimes, bro. It would not be a a slot one super podcast without some technical difficulties, baby.
Exactly.
Oh man. Anyhow, back to the topic at hand though. Yeah, so obviously, this is the unit that I have been anticipating the most in Dokkan. Obviously, a unit that I have been extremely excited for. There is I swear, basically, it's hard to find something in the game that could compare to Gohan Beast for me, especially in terms of new character releases, because obviously this is, of course, the newest transformation and the newest characters that we have in Dragon Ball as well. So of course, this was a big moment for me. I was really hoping that, they would not fumble the bag, because by golly, that would have been a terrible outcome if they did. But obviously, as we always like to say, they understood the assignment. So that was very cool to see. Yeah, and obviously, having the card art be Orange Piccolo and Gohan Beast is awesome. Of course, with this being a unit super attack, because obviously, when it comes to, these guys, they like to do this, right? Where they have the unit SAs, right? Kind of be the sort of representation for the card, even though obviously not all of the super attacks are going to be, unit supers. It will be very interesting to see, like Minato is talking about, how they will handle this, because obviously, there is not a voiced super attack in the game. We only have a voiced transformation. But it is kind of interesting that they chose to make the special beam cannon a super attack rather than a active skill, right? Obviously, from the perspective of, of course, then it won't be voiced. However, I honestly think that that's probably I don't want to say for the best, But we already have like the special beam cannon in the form of the active skill in the game already, and obviously it's really, really good. So, you know, I think it's okay that it's not going to be voiced. Obviously, if Piccolo is in it, it would be amazing if both of them, you know, talk and, you know, like he's like, oh, Piccolo, and then Piccolo's like, let's do this together, Gohan, or, you know, whatever. Yeah. Super, super cool. I'm going to be very curious to see what they actually decide to do for the rest of this guy's animations as well, right? What will be the 12 key super attack? You know, what will be his regular 18 key super attack? Because obviously this is a unit super. I guess in that regard, like what will be the active skill too? Because obviously then the active skill has to be something. So it'll be very interesting to see what animations they take from, you know, it's going to be interesting to see if they, you know, take reference from the Xenoverse cutscene as well, because obviously this moment was kind of like made big and popularized, that's a hard word to say, tongue twister, by that Xenoverse cutscene, right, where obviously it was Orange Piccolo and Gohan Beast. So it'll be interesting to see if they take references from that scene, or if they decide to do something a little bit more Dokkan original, right, which would definitely not surprise anyone, I think, at this point, considering how much they have been cooking with the, you know, the Dokkan original essays.
Yep.
So that will be really cool to see what they do. Obviously, at this point, we basically have like no idea, which I do think is kind of cool. You know, that at this point, we basically just have to speculate. But we will obviously find out on the 14th. Yeah, they did. I know they did say he will have some Dokkan original animations, but obviously, right, when it comes to that sort of thing, some of it will be from the anime, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was going to say, the one thing I think is, it might sound like a cop-out excuse, but like, I think one of the reasons why you could potentially say that the it being a unit super being like the double special beam cannon, obviously not voiced as an active skill, is because, as far as I know, like, I mean, I guess they could use the Xenoverse audio. I don't know what they say in the Xenoverse cutscene. Yeah, obviously there is no like actual audio of Piccolo and Gohan doing a special beam cannon like together, right? So, and obviously we know sometimes, like, I don't think Dokkan has ever done anything original for Dokkan voice acting wise, right? It's always usually from other games and stuff. Like, a lot of people were speculating that some of the more recent voice lines that we hadn't heard before, like the God Goku, I will not let you destroy my world and stuff like that, is from like is upcoming stuff from Sparking Zero potentially. I don't know how true that is. But yeah, that could be probably one of the reasons why it's not going to be voiced, right? Because they just don't have that sort of thing already. But it would be awesome to have. The Turles and Broly active, I don't think is a Dokkan original. Isn't it just a Broly quote from one of the other movies?
The Trunks and Broly? Yeah, no, the voice lines are from something else. Yeah.
No. The Broly voice line is from Xenoverse 2. I remember because he used to spam that ultimate. He used to be like, I remember he used to spam that line whenever I was in Xenoverse 1 even. He's when they spam the ultimate, it's so annoying. Sorry, just PTSD.
But yeah, yeah, so it's kind of crazy because I sort of called the Piccolo being a unit super because most people wanted standalone Beast. We didn't want the unit to be Beast and Piccolo just because of like the potential categories and all that kind of stuff. And so that was one of the things that I had said, is like, it'd be cool if that could be involved somehow, because obviously them doing the double special beam cannon thing from Xenoverse is super hype. Everybody really liked it when it happened in the game and it got posted all over Twitter and everything. So that being in the game as a unit super, I thought would be a cool idea. And obviously because we don't know the details of the card yet, but it's pretty obvious that the condition will be any Piccolo, because obviously the only orange Piccolo we even have in the game is a giant form, so you can't use him as other units
our
anyway.
awakening Piccolo.
But yeah, obviously, and we know already, because remember, like Nolar used to talk about it all the time with the gacha law, they can't make the character require a unit that isn't freely available. So unless they brought out a free-to-play Power Awaken Piccolo, then they could do that. But yeah, because there are multiple free-to-play Piccolos in the game already, then yeah, the condition will probably just be with a Piccolo like ally. So That's really good. And obviously the ideal one is to use the tech LR, of course, but and of course there's the STR banner unit one is still pretty good. Obviously we'll get into banner unit speculation as well a little bit, but I thought a funny idea for that could obviously be like the Red Ribbon Army disguise Piccolo, because he's in Legends. I know
that would be awesome.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that'd be a cool side banner unit. I've got a video coming out tomorrow speculating about the banner units.
I think
he's definitely in there.
In my opinion, so Max.
That if it is,
see, I did think that. Yeah.
So that will honestly
actually him. That'd be so funny.
So funny. I will say, I guess this is like maybe a little bit more on the Gamma side, but it's just a one-off thing to mention about Cell Max. Is that I will say it is like kind of funny that he's not there, because obviously, you know, the villains have like immediately fallen off as soon as they were on top. Now they're back on bottom. You know, not that Broly is obviously literally fallen off. If anyone tells you that, they're definitely tripping. But, you know, obviously it is quite funny that Cell Max isn't there. So they could very well make him a side banner unit. But yeah, we'll see on that. But regardless, though, yeah, very, very exciting for Gohan Beast. Obviously, we'll have to see what happens when the actual character is released. You know, because of course, you know, literally all we have is the card art at the moment. But from everything that we have at the moment, I think definitely Dokkan redeemed themselves with, you know, with the release of this guy. So very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. I think when we talk about because they said he could have, well, there's something about Dokkan original animations. It's one of those things where we don't know necessarily whether that means the double special beam cannon, because obviously because it's in Xenoverse, it could be, even if it's based off of that, it's like, would they then still call that a Dokkan original? So one of the things I'm really looking forward to is if he's going to have a Dokkan original for one of his other super attacks, because obviously we kind of know that, like, you know, all he really does in the movie in terms of actual attacks is a kick and the special beam cannon. And because we already have the special beam cannon animation in the game for the physical Ultimate Gohan, I'm really hoping that one of his other super attacks is something like new and unique, because that would obviously be very cool, especially after Gogeta and Vegeta, who probably are, when we think about the big celebrations, like they are the two biggest hype, like big ticket character releases, and they both got Dokkan original 18 key super attacks. So yeah, him having an 18 key super Dokkan original, because I guess it could be the case that his 18 key super is the special beam cannon, because then the unit super version is the double special beam cannon, and then his 12 key would be something Dokkan original potentially. But yeah, Talos, like we said, they can't make it an orange Piccolo, right? Because unless they give a free to play option, but that technically could be a thing. Standalone orange Piccolo could be the side banner unit as well, potentially.
That'd be so weird, but that would be kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it would be cool.
That would be interesting.
We'll see. So
Minato, your thoughts?
Yeah.
I mean, again, it'd just be really funny if Cell Max was the banner unit. It could be Magenta.
Could you imagine?
I would be so down for that.
No.
Magenta Super Boss is buff.
Well, think about it. They could basically just do like something. I don't know how exactly they would do it, but they could do something similar to how Legends handled their Magenta card, right? Because obviously you do fight with Magenta in Legends, but you know, when you die with Magenta in Legends, he smashes the button and then activates Cell Max. So they could definitely do something like that, where they incorporate Cell Max into a Magenta side banner unit.
Right. Dr. Hedo with the B, and then it's like Double Man. Where it's a 99% chance.
That would be awesome. That would be cool.
A 1% chance to insta kill.
That would be amazing. I'd be a high key.
Dr. Hedo, which is like a super like heroes support character.
Support unit, yeah.
Slot 1 tank. He doesn't have any attack, but he has a double man passive with a 1% chance to insta kill.
Fire.
The B.
Fire.
That would be pretty funny.
I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of shocked that they like, I don't know, Dr. Hedo is basically like nowhere to be seen yet. I swear I'd have to look back and see if he has one asset. Let me actually look right now because I don't remember if he does.
Remember, Dr. Hedo is invincible to bullets.
Yeah, it's true. So I don't know, like low key, it would be kind of cool if they incorporated him in some way. I think he would be a perfect character to be a like free unit.
Imagine he gives like, if there's a Gamma 1 or a Gamma 2 ally in the rotation, all allies get 80% attack and defense and like 14%.
Yeah,
that would be nuts. Okay, yeah, there is
70% reduction in slot 1.
That's right. There is the 2 story assets of Dr. Hedo when he's in the uniform. Yeah, so perfect. It's possible, right? It's definitely possible.
Dr. Hedo is gonna be my number 1 choice now.
Yeah, I think some of the other ones that I've seen some people saying, obviously got like Fat Gotenks, because we got the Goten and Trunks banner unit before, and they fuse in their super attack, but we didn't get like the actual Gotenks. Another one that I've seen people saying is like Krillin and 18.
That'd be cool.
There's a couple of options that are definitely possible, but obviously not as high on the hype like meter. I think when it comes to like top picks, for me it's probably either like Piccolo in the Red Ribbon Army disguise, Orange Piccolo, or Cell Max. But
honestly, in my opinion,
there's a really funny. I need to find. There's actually a comment. I need to read it out because it's pretty funny. I made a tweet this morning about it where I was like, "Oh, who's the side banner unit? Who do you think it's going to be?" It could unironically be Cell Max. And there's one person out there. I want to give them a shout out, not in a mean way, but I want to give them a shout out. They do not want it to be Cell Max because, boy, I know there's some people out there, but they are not happy that Cell Max is not the Part 2 LR.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I was like, there's no way Amatsu buffs villains.
And
like a team, like it comes out.
But yeah, Cell Max, he deserves better than that, damn it, apparently.
I agree. I do agree.
Look, just make it orange Tanabata, global first Tanabata. Orange Piccolo standalone. Oof. And then make Cell Max Tanabata Carnival R as well. So like Orange Piccolo's Part 1 Dokkan Fest, Cell Max Carnival R Part 2.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
Honestly, yeah, no, go ahead. Ningen.
Would they ever like actually show Global enough love for Global to get a Dokkan first, like a Global first that was actually like superhero movie related? I don't know.
That would be wild.
We know that. Tanabata should be Global first. I'm assuming.
True. Because it doesn't fit into the schedule anywhere else, does it? Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week with Goresh a little bit, but
you know,
so that's my presumption. They're gonna move Tanabata up on Global.
Oh man, the Global is gonna be so hectic.
I mean, it could literally be Tanabata into Anniversary into Worldwide and Global.
Yeah, and then it's gonna be like the Global Anniversary. Then not long after that, it's the Worldwide. Then Heroes, then the New Year Dual Dokkan Fest, because that will be back to being the same time, and then another anniversary in like a couple of months' time for the 10th anniversary. Oh god,
let's go!
End of the year is gonna be crazy, especially it's like it could be crazy.
It will be insane, yeah.
But yeah, we'll see what happens there. I'm not sure there's anything else you all want to. I mean, I think we could talk for days on about Beast Gohan and the Gammas, right? But we will get their details officially on the 14th. That is when their details are going to be announced. They could be out literally that same day. They could be out the next day, but I'm expecting either the 14th or 15th is when they drop, which does match with last year. Last year, the characters came out the 14th US time and then the 15th in like Europe and everywhere else, right?
Wasn't it like Part 1 they literally dropped like a few hours after the stream? So it's
yeah. I'm thinking because it could be the reveal is gonna be 3 a.m. my time. I'm thinking about, based on last year, they came out at 6 p.m. my time on the 14th. So it could be literally the same thing where it's like, because they came out the same time kind of last year, just a day up or something like that, where it's like, okay, the 14th at 3 a.m. my time is going to be the reveals. Then that same day for me, about how many hours would that be? 15 hours later? Yeah, 15 hours later, they'll actually drop the units. But I think that the units will be out probably within 24 hours of the actual reveal.
Yeah.
That's my thought process. So yeah.
That would make sense, yeah. I mean, I guess the only other thing that I could say is that it will be interesting to see what they do with Cell Max, because I personally kind of feel like, and I know this will be a segue into the Gammas here, but I kind of feel like that the Gammas could definitely carry their own celebration, in terms of like, being like an LR or something like that, or like a Dokkan Fest or whatever. But I feel like obviously they are way more popular than Cell Max is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting to me that they chose the Gammas for this celebration when they could have saved them to be on their own and then had Cell Max take their place. Because I feel like, people would be more willing to summon for like a solo Gamma celebration rather than a solo, Cell Max celebration. So,
Yeah.
it'll be really interesting to see what they actually do with him. Going forward. So
Yeah,
I
he
hope they
fits-
give him some love. But...
Yeah, he fits in a lot better amongst the shuffle with like a bunch of other units as part of a bigger celebration. Yeah, I feel like that is correct.
Exactly.
Because yeah, Gammas on their own as like an LR would still be hype, because especially because as we're going to go into talking about them, we might as well, I'll bring the art up now, might as well. We're going to go into talking about them now in a second anyway, but obviously we're finally getting what a lot of people were hoping for, which is from the looks of the art anyway, we're obviously getting the Gamma 2 Core Breaker like sacrifice attack, and that's something that people have been really wanting to get, so they could easily be a standalone like LR character for a celebration. Whereas Cell Max, there's a lot of people that really do not like Cell Max, and would not be hyped for a celebration where he is kind of like the main event of the celebration, right, or the main character. Because I feel like I personally, as much as I really like the Gammas unit, potentially, obviously the unit could actually be terrible, but it's unlikely, but that's another subject. I think they're a good choice, but I personally think it should have been Cell Max instead, especially with part 1 being Gogeta versus Broly. Like, it makes sense for Cell Max to fit into this like second part, just like we said, also because he kind of doesn't fit anywhere else as like a standalone character, right?
Yeah.
So, I'm personally surprised there isn't a Saiyan as the Gammas. I straight up thought it was going to be another Saiyan. In my opinion, there's no way that they're going to do Cell Max. Well, I think there was a good chance, but I just felt like it literally made me. I was like, I don't know, are they going to really pass up doing another Saiyan for Cell Max? And then I'm doing the Gammas, which obviously aren't a Saiyan, but like, I feel like, I don't know. I just didn't. For me personally, I just didn't see them doing a Cell Max like that for anniversary. They didn't do Omega for anniversary. They didn't do Kid Buu for anniversary, right? But a super class, the Gamma's character makes sense to me.
Oh yeah,
more than like another extreme class unit. It's because Broly is like not really like a villain. Broly's a Saiyan.
He's kind of, it's weird, right? Because he's more just the antagonist of the movie, right? I mean, technically Frieza really is the antagonist. Broly is just being used. He's just a tool, right? To, get to Frieza's end.
Yeah, because even though Broly's extreme class, again, he's Broly, he's a Saiyan. It's just a different feeling than Cell Max or, like a Guard or any of these like the movie villains, right?
Broly also has the advantage of, like, obviously it is new Broly, like it's DBS Broly, but of course, right, when you think of Broly, you always think of both Brolys, right? You think of Z and Super. So of course, Broly also has that like advantage to him, even though it's not exactly the same character. He still has that like history behind him that, really helps him kind of stand above the rest in terms of character choice. And obviously with him basically like now with Superhero, having him be introduced to the main cast, essentially, obviously it's even more exciting because, we can see more Broly in the future. But yeah, I don't know. I understand definitely that, like, sentiment of it, like, not wanting it or not having it be Cell Max, especially considering their track record with villains. Thank you, Amatsu. Very cool. But it is definitely quite interesting, I will say. However, with it being the Gammas, right? Holy cow, dude. It is absolutely so hype. Like, this is quite literally the two, like, biggest superhero LRs that they could have picked, right, in one celebration. Like, they
Yeah.
crammed it all into one celebration, which is crazy to think about, because obviously Beast and the Core Breaker are probably, like, in terms of, like, hype moments, the two biggest hype moments in the movie. And then, you know, Orange Piccolo as well is obviously up there too. But, right, talking about things you could make hype Dokkan cards, you know, easily they clear, I think. So it's really cool to see them represented a lot. You know, they were kind of the forerunners for, you know, like big major, you know, like Dokkan Fest, or, you know, like big boy units basically for superhero in Dokkan. So it's cool to see them, you know, get some love. And man, holy cow, dude, that card art, by the way, for their like their untransformed, or whatever you'd call it, like the non-standby still, it's like literally the best art in the game. I don't know, man. I think it's like uncontested. Like, I'm Mr. Gohan Beast, of course, but by golly, like, look at it, dude. It's so good. Obviously taking from, like, you know, when they are introduced in the movie, right? They have the little cut in the background.
Yeah, the way the little banners like come in and stuff as part of the LR art is really cool.
Yeah.
I really like
I
that.
love that. They really did a good job, like, taking the Gamma's kind of like goofy shenanigans that are present in the movie, right? Like, especially with you know, like the sound effects are like actually there, right? Like the characters in the movie can see their sound effects.
Yeah.
Which is so funny that that's like, you know, like an actual thing that they, you know, like reference is really there. But, you know, that was obviously very present in the, you know, like Dokkan Fest Gammas. So it's really cool to see that obviously they're definitely going to continue that when it comes to these guys. But yeah, I am very, very excited for these guys. Obviously, the Core Breaker is a fantastic scene, so it's going to be really cool to see that obviously in Dokkan. It'll also be really interesting to see, you know, what animations they give these guys too, because obviously they have a bunch of stuff you know, in Dokkan already, but they obviously don't have everything that they've done. I mean, you know, they have what Gamma 2 is the fight with Piccolo towards the beginning of the film, and then Gamma 1 is, you know, when he's first duking it out with Gohan, right, and he drags him across the side of the Red Ribbon base. So, like, basically everything else from that fight still has left to be represented when it comes to animation. So there's tons of cool stuff that they could still give them when it comes to
Plus,
that.
like we've seen before, even, you know, when we've talked about like Broly and Trunks's animations, them just putting together like bits of them both attacking. And we were saying about like Broly and Gogeta's animations last week when we were talking about that. Obviously the fact that they could cut together different parts of their fights from all throughout the movie into those sequences to make like their dual attacks, which I think will be really cool. The one thing that I think is very funny though, that's kind of interesting, is obviously because they have a standby and we know how standbys work in the game, it will be kind of weird that like you're going to do the Core Breaker with Gamma 2 and then the unit will just go back to being Gamma 1 and 2. So he's not dead, even though it's supposed to be a like sacrifice explosion attack kind of thing. But,
I mean, we don't know 100% necessarily, because sometimes they don't show everything. Like they're showing the card arts, right?
True.
It could be a thing where it's like just Gamma 1 by himself, and we have no idea.
That's what I assumed the card always would be, right? Is that you'd use an active skill, which would be the Core Breaker attack, and then the card would transform into just Gamma 1. But I guess technically we haven't seen it happen with a card yet. Well, actually, no, because Full Power Super Saiyan 4 Goku does that, right? Doesn't he? He goes from a standby into a new transformation. So actually, I imagine that. So that could potentially still be on the table for sure. Yeah, that's interesting. The one thing I thought about earlier, which will be interesting to see, is obviously Gamma 2 has kind of gotten to the point where he's a bit outdated now for like the current meta. But Gamma 1 can still be kind of good. And of course, he's going to share like almost every single link with this unit outside of Legendary Power. The only disappointing thing, the thing I would imagine that they'll do with their link set is Gamma 1 and 2 on their own, the two standalone ones, they have the same links except for one different one. Right, so Gamma 1 has Cold Judgment and Gamma 2 has the Innocence. So I would assume that they're just going to ditch those and then give them Legendary Power instead. which is cool, but at the same time, a little bit annoying because it would have been really good for them to have Cold Judgment with Gamma 1 because it's such a good defensive link. But their release is definitely going to see like Gamma 1 with all the androids buffs we got at the end of last year with like the 21 team and stuff like that. Gamma 1 was a unit that I was still using like fairly regularly. So on these team setups, having a rotation where you have like Gamma 1 in slot 1, the LR Gammas in slot 2, and then as you get a bit deeper into the fight where Gamma 1 can potentially become a liability against the hardest hitting phase of the boss, we would imagine at that point you're then getting the standby for the LR, which if it's like any of the other standbys that we've seen is probably going to be an incredibly strong defensive unit, and then you can switch them into slot 1 instead. So I feel like that's going to work super, super well. But obviously we'll have to wait and see. Now, in terms of, obviously, with them being a carnival LR, one of the things I wanted to ask you guys is, what do you think that we will see for their leader skill? Because obviously for Gogeta, I was one of the people, I was absolutely on side of like, they won't give him something like movie heroes because that's way too crazy. And then they did give him movie heroes. So, I mean, do you think these guys could actually be superheroes 200%, or do you think there'll be something else?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's out of the question now that, like, I think with Gogeta having that ridiculous leader skill, right? Before I would have told you, nah, there ain't no way. But, like, with him having movie heroes 200, I think that it is very easily possible for the Gammas to get superheroes 200%, which will be disgusting. That team will be absolutely insane.
200, just a 200% superheroes. It's gonna be
that's
gonna
be
nasty.
so crazy. Now
that's nasty, bro.
Unless they do like Worthy Rivals.
Worthy Rivals is one I looked at because I did a video earlier today for what will their leader skills be. So if you guys haven't seen that, go check it out. Worthy Rivals is a kind of mid category for the most part anyway. Accelerated Battle has some interesting characters on it. The only other thing I could think is that they just go the route and go like androids, because then obviously that team would be pretty insane with all the buffs that we got from the end of last year.
That is true.
And then they'll still be good on the superhero team as long as they don't restrict their passive to being on a specific team. But androids 200% would be cool. The only reason why I think, obviously with Gogeta getting movie heroes, it absolutely puts the option on the table that they could just straight up get superheroes. But the only thing that makes me think that they maybe won't go that route is that we do often see, and it's not all the time, so it could be something completely different, but we do often see that the two Dokkan Fest LRs in these big celebrations, they do kind of mirror each other in a certain way. And so because Broly has super bosses as one of his 170 leads, then obviously potentially Gohan has superheroes as one of his 170 leads. And then just like how Broly then has movie bosses as a plus 30, Gohan could have movie heroes. So then it kind of would be weird if they gave the Gammas superheroes as well as their leader skill. So what do you guys think about that? That was just something I thought of earlier. So I don't know what you guys think about that.
Gohan is going to lead Bana Master and Disciple. And I don't think he's going to lead superheroes. I think the Gammas will lead superheroes.
See, I think he'll lead Bond of Parent and Child because they haven't.
I think he's going to lead both of them.
That would work.
Yeah,
I think he's going to lead.
Also, wait a minute, Bond of Parent and Child for Piccolo and Gohan. Let's go, baby.
No, because of Pan, buddy.
It's technically not Piccolo and Gohan, though, is it? The card is still technically just Beast Gohan.
It's just Beast Gohan.
You know who else there is though, Minato? What were you saying? I thought of you earlier when I was thinking about it. The original speculations about the theme of the anniversary category that doesn't have a single other leader than the unit that introduced it 3 years ago, which is Miraculous Awakening. The only leader of that category is LRUI Goku. There hasn't been another. Yeah, AGLUI Goku is the only leader for Miraculous Awakening. So I could definitely see that being one of Gohan's 170 leads because he's on the category. So
I think his team's going to be busted. Imagine Miraculous Awakening plus Bond and Parent and Child plus a Bond and Master and Disciple. And then 30% to movie heroes and I don't know.
Battle of Fate.
Battle of Fate. Yeah. Like that. Like, what if he's just the best lead in the game? Like, that's possible.
I would not be surprised if his team is the best team in the game, hands down. Yeah. Especially if he is obviously like, #1 contender.
Right.
But yeah, definitely interesting to see what the leader
join forces 200%, huh? Someone in chat said that.
Ooh, yeah,
that is true.
The Gammas are going to have some extra categories that the existing ones don't have, like join forces, Final Trump card should be a team that they have because the Gamma too, right?
Yeah, true.
There are a couple of
True,
extra
true.
categories that they will have, so I think joint forces can make a lot of sense.
God,
that
could
was
you
Adam-
imagine if
Adam was
they
first in chat.
if they gave them like a crazy kind of almost like support type passive, and then they just led 200% joined forces, so you could build any combo of like the Goku and Vegeta cards and stuff,
That'd be
and then just
wild.
have
But
these
earlier-
guys as like a floating support unit. That'd be insane.
Earlier, I was
That would
thinking
be
that the
insane.
Goku and Vegeta, like the physical EZA Goku and Vegeta, might be one of the best leads in the game because they lead joint forces, and I'm like, imagine that joint forces team with them
Yeah,
is going to
True.
be because they will activate their own Rainbow Orb changing passive.
yeah,
they're
because the
both
friend is the
leaders.
superhero ally. Yeah,
So you don't even need to bring
Yeah.
any other superhero. Not that there's going to be these guys are going to be one of the good superheroes allies, but I can't think of
Yeah.
another good like superheroes
Yeah.
combination unit besides the blues from the worldwide, right?
yeah, because worst possible outcome. I know people are putting the memes in the chat. Worst possible outcome is they get like special pose or defenders of justice.
Oh, no.
200%. Could you imagine?
Bro,
I feel
finally,
like-
it's time to clear that one cell max mission with ease. The special
Yes.
pose mission will cook him finally.
I'm gonna assume that they're gonna have a leader skill that'll also lead like the superhero characters on there, maybe. I think that would make sense to me. I don't know. I just thinking these guys as superhero flat 200% makes sense to me.
Yeah,
'Cause,
especially with Gogeta being movie heroes, it does make a lot of
Right.
sense.
We already
But that-
have 2 Dokkan Fest LR superheroes leads, right?
yeah.
I think a carnival lead fits better for that team. While Super Bosses was a brand new category.
Yeah.
Right.
God, that team will be so crazy.
Mhm. It's gonna be really good if they do that.
yeah.
So yeah, it's very
I
exciting.
think the nice thing about both of these guys, right, for Gohan or for the Gammas, right, is that it's almost like quite literally, regardless of what they get in terms of leader skill, they'll be cracked.
Yeah.
You know,
I-
which is really cool.
It's gonna be funny if they suck, but I doubt it.
I hope not.
Nah.
I would
gonna
be.
be-
I don't think we can. I
mega
mean, we
sad.
already said it, right? I don't think you can look at the units they've released so far and the EZAs that they've released so far and really have anything but like good expectations for
Yeah.
these units.
Oh yeah.
right?
I mean, like, yeah.
everything
No, even
that-
with the sideband units being good, it's like
Yeah,
there's
even
no
Frieza,
way, you know?
exactly. Yeah.
Right, even Frieza. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
with the build up that they gave this, like we talked about this as kind of reasons why the card was most likely going to be Beast. When we talked about all the stuff about like they hyped it up by having a live stream for part 2, which they don't usually do. They returned to the Dokkan Fest and Carnival like format. All of that stuff can then essentially also be applied to that perspective that like we would expect them to be good, right? They wouldn't have gone through all of this like trouble, I guess, for lack of a better word. With how good Broly and Gogeta are, I would expect these guys to be on the same level, like at least, right? So yeah, very, very excited to see what they actually do. And their animations and everything. So it's very exciting. It's one of those cool things where it's like we all kind of knew at this point that that's what it was going to be. Although, there were some people sweating a little bit. And it was one of those funny situations where it's like, we all think it's going to be Beast. We all basically want it to be Beast, but there's that little part of you that is like it'd be kind of funny if it's not, just to see how people react.
I mean, listen, bro. After the whole thing with Rose from Worldwide, I don't trust us saying oh yeah, it'll be this character guaranteed. After that whole thing, I'm a changed man, bro. That changed me on a deep philosophical level. So yeah, I don't know, man. Very very cool though that actually thank God we were right.
Yeah, so very, very exciting part 2 of Lars, guys. Just crazy again. We are going to get their details in literally 3.5 days. So just
Which is awesome.
keep a lookout for that. I'm sure meaning it will be covering that specifically and everything. And we'll be talking about everything on next week's podcast. So
yes, sir. I'll
yeah,
cover those
look out
funny
there.
animations as usual. I'm praying that these guys have the best ones in the game, like Gohan Beast and these guys, uncontested the best. I'm praying.
I hope
man.
so, man. It's going to be really, really good. And keep in mind, this is going to be a Twitter video. It's not a live stream. It is just a Twitter video.
Yeah, that was the thing I thought was weird.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it is. It
probably
is
more
kind
That's how
of
they,
convenient,
they
to be
did
fair.
that last year, right?
Yeah.
For part 2. But it's this year's part 2 is obviously
See,
way more.
I will say it's kind of weird because it's I think for usual Dokkan shenanigans, it's not like out of the ordinary for that to be the case, right? Like a lot of the time when it comes to part twos, they just do like a video instead of like a stream, right? Sometimes it's like a premiere, or sometimes they just, chuck the video up on YouTube, whatever the case is. But I will say it is really interesting to me, like that with how big of a deal that they made this part two, and obviously how big these characters are. It is quite surprising to me that they didn't decide to do a live stream for this one, all things considered.
It's Beast, right? So
right. Like, you would think that, out of all times to finally do like a part two, like live stream where it's like a full thing, right? Like they did for Gogeta and Broly. You would think it would be this, right? Because this is what they usually do for just like, lower celebrations where the part two is just, like a video or whatever. So I don't know. I think from that perspective, right, it is quite interesting to see that, this is like the route that they decided to go. It's fine, right? Like it's nothing crazy, right? Like it's not like it's going to be, anything detrimental or, we ain't going to be losing sleep over it or nothing. But it is kind of a weird decision, to be honest. So I do kind of hope that if they continue this format for bigger celebrations, especially if the part twos are going to be this hype, then I hope that they do decide to actually do a part two live stream, because they did a fan meetup. So why did they not? They had more people come, right? They had to have a whole venue rented out for a bunch of people to arrive, and for the live stream, they rent out the studio and just had the three of them sitting there. I don't know. So
I don't know. Maybe they for some reason they were only able to do one live stream, and they're like, okay, probably smarter to do the live stream for just part one.
Because yeah, for sure.
If it was a choice between a live stream for part one and part two,
well, I get that.
I still think part one would have been a better choice, because Beast is going to carry it anyways, right?
Yeah, it's so crazy as well. Like people talk about, we talk about how Dokkan is still thriving and going from like strength to strength. Like not only is this so far been almost universally hailed as like the best anniversary so far, wasn't it? The part one live stream had like over 100,000 people watching it, live, which is crazy.
Insane.
It's I think I saw someone posting saying, now obviously there's this whole thing that we had this whole thing with the 23rd World Tournament Golden Week, where a bunch of people who don't understand how gacha markets work were trying to like downplay it as being a successful celebration because we didn't hit top grossing. And obviously there's been the whole thing about JP not hitting top grossing on, was it Android? They only hit it on iStore or something. And it's because obviously the there's two other massive gacha games, one of which I think was having their anniversary as well. But I saw somebody post a thing saying that like, even if we didn't hit top grossing, I could have sworn, unless I didn't read it in huge detail, so I could just be wrong, but I'm sure I saw a thing saying that the anniversary so far has already made more money than the worldwide celebration.
Yep.
So this is the Gogeta and Broly banners are now the 9th best-selling banners. Weekly Dokkan posted that about an hour ago. So they're in the top 10 best-selling banners ever in Dokkan history.
So there you go.
I assume these Gohan might also.
It's like, and I think the thing that people just don't think about, right? They think about it too like cut and dry. And they don't think about it with like the nitty gritty details in their mind, because like even so, Android was still at 2 and 3, right? So it's like, by no means is that obviously bad, and they still made like buttloads of money, right? So
people put too much stock into top grossing. I mean,
right now, absolutely.
In iOS, they're still 3rd, so. I think people put too much stock into how important top grossing actually is. Yeah. And I think that, it's like in terms of the success of the game, like they're at even on Android right now, they're still in the top 10. And until the 5th, until the 3rd, they're still in 2nd place, right?
Yeah.
Right. But the thing is that the only reason why we should care about top grossing is to get the extra rewards.
Yeah.
Right.
Which, to be fair, for things like the anniversary, they usually just give stuff like that out anyway, where it's like they'll just give it as like a whole thank you for enjoying the anniversary. Here's free stuff.
Exactly.
It is funny though, because like you said, it is weird. People put way too much stock in top grossing to the point where like it happened during that Golden Week celebration where, obviously a couple of replies in, I realized I was dealing with someone who was a few sandwiches short of a picnic, shall we say, where they were just basically
such a funny expression.
They're just basically saying, like, hands down, categorically, black and white, if a celebration doesn't hit top grossing, then it was not successful, like, for the game. But I even used the example to that person. It's like, so you're telling me that, like, if every other celebration in the game so far up to that point, let's say, made $600,000, and then this celebration makes $1 million, but it doesn't hit top grossing because Genshin made $1,001,001, you're telling me that means that this celebration was not a success, and they legitimately said yes. So it's like, what?
See, here's the thing, right? Think about that if you applied that logic to, like, other things, right? Think
like
about
any business, like if you had a best-selling week or something, but the business next door sold, like, more than you. So it's like, oh, well, I guess your week sucked then. It's like, what?
And it's like, think about it if they did that for, like, movies or something like that, where it's like, okay, so my movie, made, like, $2 million, but this other movie made $3 million. So you're telling me my movie is a failure, even though it's being universally praised and it made all this money, despite the fact that, it's just not number one? I don't know. That's just, it's just people don't, like, think about it.
Two good things can coexist.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Good things, multiple good things can coexist. And I don't know. I think it's also just because, like, people don't, I don't know if they just don't think about it or they don't understand, like, top grossing or, like, what it means in terms of, like, the numbers behind it and obviously, like, why it's there and everything like that. I think, as far as it goes for most, like, people who kind of have that mentality when it comes to, like, oh, if this celebration didn't hit top grossing, it's bad. I don't know, like, I honestly think it's just because they're not getting free stones. Like, I think, the long and the short of it might just be that. It's that, oh, I don't see funny 30 dragon stones or funny 30 100 stones in my box equals bad. Which is, like, obviously not the right way to think about it, because of course the whole point behind it is how much moolah that they're making per celebration. So
or mega hit top grossing, and then
dude, bro, I still can't believe that whole thing on global.
Success. He's a success. He had top grossing.
2 GT units hit top grossing. That was too funny, man.
Omega hit top grossing. He's a success release.
And that, that's so funny to think too, technically on the opposite side of the spectrum, just like what Ningen was saying. It's like, so if Dokkan just so happens to be on top that week and every other game is, just like happens to be releasing nothing that week, and we hit top grossing simply because Dokkan just happened to make the most money, does that also make it a good release? Omega Shinron would tell me no, but
well, plus it's the other thing.
SKR Super 17 top grossing.
Yeah, that's the other thing that people don't realize as well, is obviously it does play a major factor into people buying stones to summon for the characters, but like stuff like when Super 17 got top grossing on global is because he was the last Dokkan Fest before the anniversary. So all of the whales, or people, or not necessarily whales, because they'll just buy stones whenever, like full price and stuff. But that means that all of the dolphins, as we would call them in that kind of level, they bought all of the sales for 17, not to summon for him, but to save for the anniversary. So obviously loads of people spent money on global during that celebration, but it wasn't because of Super 17. So then when that celebration hit top grossing, and then you unironically have people saying like, see, Super 17's more hype than 23rd World Tournament because he hit top grossing. It's like
most games don't even do anything for top grossing. It's like Dokkan's like one of the only games.
Well, and not to mention, right, I think it's also the other aspect to it too, is that we are, all things considered, very, very spoiled when it comes to top grossing, because a lot of these mobile games are not hitting top grossing as consistently as Dokkan is, right? And up until this point, right, like obviously Dokkan tends to hit top grossing, I feel like less consistently than they used to, but that's also because there's more competition nowadays.
The gacha market has expanded so much.
Crazy. There are so many games, like mobile games and gacha games both, right? Like at this point, Dokkan has so much competition that they need to be really killing it to absolutely, like keep up, right, and make sure that they are, still on top. There's so many games that even just like because the market is so oversaturated with them, like at this point, there's plenty of games that don't even hit top grossing, right? And they're just not as fortunate to basically just get that many rewards that we do, because obviously since we've hit it so much in the past and still hit it quite a bit now, right? We're very spoiled in that regard. So
yeah, plus one
I
thing
think
to... Sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the other thing to consider as well, someone did say this in chat, shout out to JC Gamer. I was thinking it earlier before, but it just kind of didn't get to it coming up, is the fact that you also have to remember that some people don't like that format because it means they have to have patience and they have to kind of save and maybe take a more of a wait and see. But a lot of people won't have gone hard on part 1 because they wanted to see if Beast Gohan was going to be part 2. So there is the potential that Dokkan would have made more in part 1 if part 1 was just, well, I say potential, it probably just straight up would have. I mean, if part 1 was like Blue Gogeta and Beast Gohan, then it probably would have made more money. But then part 2 would potentially make considerably less than, and then hopefully the two kind of add together to making like who knows, right? But
I'm literally sitting on over half the sales right now, waiting to see if Beast Gohan was there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm literally one of those people, and I'm sure many people are the same thing.
Yep.
So it's it's like, okay, I got my Gogeta and Broly copy. Now let me wait and see what part 2 is going to be, and then I'll decide after. So that's the thing, right?
Yep,
but yeah, so. Again, that was a little off topic there, but I think it's a good discussion to still have, right? About top grossing and everything, just as we enter into part 2. But that is everything about the units. Again, leader skills they could potentially have and everything like that. We'll get the official information in about 3 days' time, so just keep a look out there on the official GB Twitter. I'm sure like Garash is going to do like his translations and things like that, right?
Let's hope so.
So I mean, we know when it's going to be, so we'll see. But all right, so the last thing for the podcast specifically is going to be, as always, trash takes. But before we head into that, just another quick reminder that if you do want to support the podcast, we will be reading any super chats and donations at the end. So we're going to be reading all of those that you guys, want to go ahead and let us know, and we'll answer any questions you may have. But let's hop right into your guys' favorite segments, trash takes.
Yes, sir.
Whoa!
So there was a couple of them that were out there that I'm like, are interesting. But of course, as the host this week, or at least the main host this week, I did go ahead and pick this one. So, this is a take by Elfcon right here. It says getting an LR in big celebrations instead of a TUR is actually bad for the game because more LRs end up hurting the quality of the animations.
Did you pick this for me?
I not necessarily. I just like kind of, so with me, I'm sure Ningen is gonna go ahead and put the poll in the chat, but what I would say, and I'm just gonna straight up say, I kind of
big celebrate. I need to reread this to like process what's being said here. Hold on.
The thing is that I see where the point is coming from when it comes to this specific trash take. Because I mean, a lot of people didn't like. Let's take a look at, because animations are the most important part of the card, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, now at this point, it's like they have intros, and then they like doing a lot of these transformation characters. So it's like like the Goku and Vegeta from Worldwide last year. A lot of people were unimpressed with some of their animations. Because it's like we had the 12 key, the 18 key, the intro, the active skill, the transformation. Vegeto's 12 key and Vegeto's 18 key is like 7 different animations, along with one of them being a Dokkan original animation. Then you had fusions of Masus, you had the My banner unit, you had the Zamasu intro banner unit, right? There's a lot of animations to go ahead and put there at once. And then a lot of people were very like, some of these animations didn't really look that great. Because people are like, okay, they have to put their time into these original animations, and it's like maybe they're spreading themselves too thin animations wise because it hurts the quality of what they are. And being fair in terms of power, they could release TURs that are as strong as LRs are, right? But when it comes to the hype factor, LRs just feel better, and that's how they condition us to feel, to be fair. Like in these major celebrations, we associate Dokkan Fest LRs with the hypest releases, with anniversaries and everything like that. That's how we associate Dokkan Fest LRs with the biggest celebrations of the year, Carnival LRs, the biggest celebrations of the year. Whilst TURs were now like, oh, monthly TUR. Even Golden Week, is less hype than like an anniversary celebration because it's like TURs, right? And they have like less exciting choices for these TUR characters. So we're conditioned to feel that way, I think, in terms of how it is. But back in the past, second anniversaries, TUR Super Saiyan 4s, and that was like the hypest thing ever. So I would disagree because I feel like me personally, I'm more easy in animations than other people. But I see where like the point is coming from in terms of that. But I'm handed off to Dokkan Assets, our expert assets analysis, super attack analysis guy, and let me know what you think. Did you see like a dip in quality in certain animations because there are LRs compared to TURs, or what do you think?
So this is definitely a very interesting like take, because it's like I kind of agree, but I also kind of disagree, I guess. I feel like this is a little bit more like circumstantial type of thing. So it's kind of weird, right? Because I think that this doesn't, like, the only time that I think that this apply, I guess, when he's saying big celebrations as well, right? Like, surely that must mean like Annie and worldwide, I would think, right?
Yeah.
Because that would make the most sense to me, because obviously this doesn't really apply in any other case, right? Like, obviously, like the Tanabata LR is not, being affected with worse animations because it's an LR over a TUR. Like Super Saiyan 4 Goku was fire last year. It's kind of weird, right? Because I feel like there's a lot of logistics to this, because I kind of felt this way with worldwide last year with some of Vegeto's animations and some of Trunks' animations, right? I think Zamasu and Gohan were both fine. And even with the Cooler celebration, right? I definitely think that like some of especially Metal Cooler, we don't even want to talk about that boy. Bro was straight lacking on some of the animations, right? I think to an extent, but at the same time, I also think this might not be like tackling the root of the problem, because on one hand, like, sure, I guess you could say that, but at the same time, I also kind of feel like it's more so the carnival units that are kind of the issue, because I also am kind of assuming that like this is more so talking about this banner format, right? I guess we don't know that like for sure, but when discussing like like older major celebrations where it would be like dual Dokkan Fest in part 1 and then like 2 yellow coin LRs in part 2, obviously it was just kind of expected that it would just be like, yeah, of course the part 1 units are going to have better animations than the part 2 ones, because obviously typically the Dokkan Fest characters have better animations typically, right, than their yellow coin counterparts for the most part. With that being said, though, I don't know, I guess in the modern day, it kind of feels like more so to me that it's the Carnival LRs, because I feel like I always notice when a Carnival LR is released, there is something about them that like rubs me the wrong way, or like is just a little bit off about their animations. And I feel like that's been pretty consistent from like the beginning, right? There are Carnival LRs with fantastic animations. Like I think a great example of this is Birdku, right? Birdku has some really cool animations, but then you look at his active skill and it's literally like, dog, what did I just watch? Because it's not good, right? Obviously, like, of course, the whole revival is fantastic. And his super attacks are really good, but his active where he just does the punch is just so lackluster. So I don't know. I almost kind of feel like the issue is more so sometimes the carnivals rather than just there being so many different animations. But I mean, even with like now, right? If we're talking this celebration, Gogeta, I think like clears any other carnival unit that we've gotten in terms of animations up until this point. Like I think that's pretty obvious. And even though there's some things that they could definitely, I think, like very small nitpicks, right, that are definitely just nitpicks on my part, I think overall they're really good. So, I don't know. I'm kind of in between on this one because I see the vision, but I also like don't necessarily completely agree with it. So I don't know. I think I'm kind of in the middle on this one, I guess. Ningen, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, so obviously I wanted to let you go because you are, as we say, the funny animations
Thanks.
man. I agree with
I love those
most
PNGs, baby.
I agree with most of what you guys have been saying. Like I kind of see what they're getting at to a certain extent, but for me, I would say it's just an L take. Like just from reading it and saying, is this a W or is this an L? To me, it's an L because like this. To remember that this take was made after Gogeta and Broly came out. So right. The two units that basically have almost in contention, at least if you don't necessarily think they are specifically, contention for the best animations in the game. So to say that like bringing out LRs for big celebrations hurts the quality of the animations of the units when the newest LRs for the big celebration have the best animations in the game doesn't really make a lot of sense. I get where they're potentially coming from with this because obviously we talk about it a lot, even when we were talking about Beast Gohan, as we've said, the fact that he kind of almost needs to have a Dokkan original because he doesn't do enough stuff. So when you make a unit an LR, you've got two super attacks, and now the expectation almost for a big ticket release is that we would expect either some combination of like an intro, an active, or like a standby or something like that. So multiple animations that need to get done. And obviously at the end of the day, they only have a certain amount of budget for each of these like productions. So in theory, I can see where they're going with this, where if more and more celebrations, the main units are LRs, it means more animations are having to be created on essentially the same budget. But obviously we don't know how any of that stuff works behind the scenes. Dokkan continues to make more and more money every year, so probably gets increased budget for things like animations and stuff like that as each year passes. And I would imagine that they factor that in to their decision making, right? Like if they were going to make a big new unit and they couldn't think of any way to give them 3 different animations that all looked really good, then you would assume they would go for the option of not making that character an LR then if they can't meet this quota of like animations that they would need. So yeah, I definitely don't agree. Like, I mean, honestly, I'm one of those people, even some of the LRs that other people think look a bit shaky, like whilst I don't think they're anywhere near like the best animations in the game or anything like that, I don't really have a problem with the Blue Boys from the Worldwide Celebrations animations for the most part. And then when you talk about Carnival LRs, like obviously, like you said, Birdcoo, his active skill's not the best, but his other animations are fine. I think Metal Cooler's animations are really good. He has the 2 supers and an active skill, and they're all quite good, I think. And then obviously, the Carnival LRs from the anniversary, they're like decent, but they're just not anything special. I think they're not anything crazy, which is I think maybe why they're not as impressive, because they are very much just kind of cobbled together, like all the Z fighters attacking, and then Goku does like a Kamehameha and stuff like that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think these guys are pretty good in terms of animations for these big ticket LRs. So yeah, I think overall I would have to say for me it's just an L take. I can kind of see where they're going with it, but I just don't agree with it. If if we're literally just going for W or L take, then it is an L for me, I'm afraid.
No, it can't be.
I mean, yeah, so I guess we all have our opinions. I'm assuming all of us kind of agree that it is overall an L take, which of course these are Dokkan trash takes, so they are giving a take that they feel is controversial, that a lot of people likely wouldn't agree with, which seems to be the case. What is the poll at, Ningen? What are we looking at here? Let's see. We're looking at 75% L take and then like 24% W take. Again, there's that 1% margin because YouTube is funny, but there we go. So that is the complete poll. And again, Chad decided it is an L take right there. So my opinion is that even though LRs take so much more time. You could tell that. I mean, again, we discussed this last week where it seems like they potentially hired just new animators for the Gogeta original animations, right? They literally likely are increasing their staff,
I would hope
and they
so.
get just put more time into the main anniversary stuff. And that's why, like, they may sacrifice other characters' animations, such as Dokkan Assets. I remember you don't like Kale. Her animations.
I am Kale's biggest op.
So
Yeah.
it's a thing where you can also say maybe because they have to put more time into the main celebrations, they sacrifice some of these other celebrations
Right.
animations.
That's
But-
another thing I think this take doesn't take into consideration either. If we're doing our like analysis rather of the take, right? I think that's
Yeah.
another thing that isn't really thought about here.
I think the thing is that maybe if it was saying like it hurts the rest of the characters released throughout the year, their animations, then maybe I could see like a little more of that. But
Yeah.
specifically saying that it hurts the LR's animations, which they're gonna make sure that the LR animations are gonna be good. I mean,
Right.
the Blue Goku and Vegeta still have pretty good animations. I personally like their 18 key. I think their 18 key is fine. But like
Yeah.
the fusion, Vegeto's animations I really like, and his active skull I really like. Like there are really good animations there in that card. So so that's all I have to say about that. So that is it for this week's trash take. And then now, of course, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be reading out all the donos and the super chats that were given out. Ningen has the list of them right there. So go ahead and let us know.
Oh, no,
If
is
you're
this
alive.
mic muted again?
I don't know. I
Of
can't hear
course.
you, Ningen.
Yeah, always, you know how it goes.
This guy 3 times. Gotta wake up, buddy.
That's
Third time's the
crazy.
charm, you know.
Get on the grinds.
All right, so shout out to everybody, of course. Appreciate all of the contributions, helping to support the show, keep the lights on. So we have Raudo-kun re-upping his channel membership. He says, LR Beast and LR Gammas are upon us. Wishing all JP peeps the best of luck, and hit that like button. And we appreciate you. Good luck to all you guys out there when the banners do indeed drop. We have Drace with the $2 super chat. He says, worldwide download celebration is Majin Buu Saga. Trust. LR Kid Buu 2024. That's right, the meme.
I mean, me personally, I'm thinking that Namek Saga is worldwide celebration.
I've seen some people
have
saying
not-
about that.
Yeah.
I mean, they touched the Namek Saga once since year 7, and that was Ginyu. And then every other saga has gotten touched like multiple times. It's just very odd. Final Form Frieza, Dokkan Fest is not a thing. Kaioken Goku that transforms into Super Saiyan Goku could be really interesting, right? I think that, and just literally, Ningen, on the side, pull up the Namek Saga category, and then you'll see how desperately it needs new characters.
Yeah.
Please, I'm like begging you, just pull it up on the side right now when you get the chance.
I can't.
And
yeah.
you can't. Oh, loser. Okay, that's fine. So,
Bruh.
I don't know. What do you think? At Dokkan Assets would, I mean, a Buu Saga worldwide celebration would be really, really sick. And there's a lot of EZAs, but I'm thinking they're gonna save that for 10th year.
Yeah, I mean, it would be funny. Obviously, whenever the meme finally dies of Kid Buu, obviously getting a LR, that would be cool. But I mean, I would definitely be down for that. I think that it would be pretty decent choice for worldwide. I think that Namek definitely needs it more. I think that is pretty easy thing to say. It would be cool, right? But I do kind of agree, because obviously if you're thinking Buu Saga, right, one of the first things that comes to your mind is of course Super Vegito. And I would think that in terms of like upcoming fusion characters, I would not be surprised if we didn't see anything fusion related. I guess I should specify and say Goku and Vegeta fusion related, right? Because I'm sure that they could still do Kefla or Gotenks or something. But I would think that we probably won't be seeing the funny fusions again until 10th Annie. That would be my guess anyway, because I just don't see them really being incorporated in anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like
until then.
Super Vegeta and Super Gogeta 10th anniversary just feels like some of the most obvious choices to me.
Yeah.
Like how we're saying, oh yeah, Beast Gohan and Blue Gogeta for
Right.
this anniversary, right? It's like kind of, we know what kind of choices they're going to pick for an anniversary celebration. And, we're seeing S tier Super Vegeta Tech Super Gogeta. The year 7 should EZA that year, which is going to be crazy. We have a lot of these other Buu Saga EZAs, Jambas, Jamba and PyCon. Like, there's a lot of EZAs that are upcoming, and if they're gonna not touch any of those EZAs within like half of the year, it's gonna be like they're building up towards a Vegeta and Gogeta celebration.
Yeah.
We'll see what they do. For all we know, going on week is like Buu versus Vegeta, and then we get like S tier Super Vegeto's EZA or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I could see like Buu Saga Celebration coming before a Namek Saga Celebration again, just in terms of like the release order of the previous worldwide LRs that still need to EZA. Because obviously the Buu Saga ones ideally need to EZA first, right? Because they came out first. So we'll see.
It would be funny if Namek, Goku, and Frieza EZA before the Vegeta one. Because they're more exciting, you know.
That would be wild. Yeah,
that would be crazy.
I think that'd be funny. I wouldn't put it past them because they haven't even EZA Tech Broly yet, and then there's like so many characters after him that have EZA'd. So it's just like, you know, I don't think they really care too much.
Yeah. But yeah. So we'll see, I guess. But yeah, shout out to Drace for the dono. We have Philip Rodriguez gifted 5 memberships to the channel. So shout out to you. I appreciate you, my dude. We have, is it Abello or Abelot? I'm not really sure how to pronounce that.
Your boy! That's Abelot. Yeah, that's
well, your boy, you say, with the $2 dono. He says Dokkan assets a bum for real. So there you go.
Nah, that's my goat right there. Shout out to the homie.
So we appreciate you. Drace with another dono, $5. He says a Universe 6/Tournament of Power celebration could be soon. If I remember correctly, JP's next world tournament should be the Awakening for the Int, Caulifla, and Tech Kale. STR Kefla's EZA is something that will be forthcoming. So yeah, I could definitely see that. We've seen, you know, with some of the stuff that's come out during this anniversary, the Int Androids team getting a ton of buffs. So a celebration themed around the Universe 6 versus Universe 7 tournament would obviously be even more stuff for that. I know people want to see like Goku versus Hit as like a dual Dokkan Fest.
I think that the next world tournament could literally be like not this weekend, but like the next weekend on GP.
Because Global has one last anniversary next coming weekend. So
yeah,
last anniversary. Part 2 did have a world tournament because it was pushed back, but because that one was pushed back, they kind of went with the same like kind of general schedule, and they didn't do a world tournament in what's it called? They did not do a world tournament in January this year. So I'm thinking a world tournament. We'll see in the news later tonight. I think if it's a part of part 2. Hopefully not, because then it's gonna be like the units drop on the 14th, 15th, then like a world tournament like the next day.
Yeah,
would be so annoying, but we'll see.
You wanted to use your new units? No. It's Broly time.
Oh goodness, Mod Junior time.
It's Mod Junior time. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. In Piccolo Junior is the new wave.
Yeah, that is true. I use them both.
Yeah, fair. But yeah, definitely could see something like that soon. Tournament of Power buffs have been coming in the anniversary as well anyway, so definitely could be interesting to go into that sometime soon. So shout out to Drace. JC Gamer with the $5 donor says, I feel like they're going to get rid of the Tanabata celebration starting from year 10 because the anniversary is just way more hype than the Tanabata. I mean, I guess technically, like, the Tanabata is an actual festival in Japan, like an actual celebration.
Yeah, right.
So you would imagine that they're going to keep that on JP in July. We'll get the same stuff on Global, but it'll just have a different name. Because remember, Global will be getting the anniversary. Yeah, that's the thing. They could just rename it to that, because Global will be getting the anniversary stuff in January/February at the same time as JP. So even though technically, in terms of the date, Global's anniversary will still be in July, there won't be a specific celebration for it anymore. So we already talked in the past about how they could do a sync, potentially moving stuff around, maybe the worldwide celebration moving up a little bit so that both versions have a celebration around the time of their anniversary that is like a big, you know, 4 LRs kind of celebration. But I think Tanabata will probably remain a thing on the JP side, and we'll just get it on Global, kind of like we do now, where it's always, is it like the thank you celebration is basically the Tanabata celebration? So it'll just have a different name, but will be all of the same stuff.
It's possible that they don't, that like the anniversary, like global anniversary, is not even celebrated anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like they don't
Imagine
have
that
to
if
do
it was just like on whatever day it is, I forget the specific day because that's obviously when the anniversary properly starts on global. You imagine we just get like a login bonus of a bunch of stones and some
they would
items
just-
and that's
I
it.
mean,
It's just like happy anniversary global. There you go.
Imagine they
Like-
give. I mean, I think people would be okay if they just like give an extra 100 stones to all players just because it's the anniversary or something.
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Right?
because that's the thing.
That'd
We
be
already got
nice.
the anniversary celebration, so it's
Right,
yeah,
which would be worldwide. Yeah.
be interesting to see how they would do that. Yeah, but definitely very strange. But yeah, someone said, yeah, Proton saying it's possible they just start naming it the Tanabata on JP or on Global, so they don't have to do extra work with the asset arts and stuff. So
True.
Yeah,
yeah, you
it
never
would
I would
be
know.
not
easier
be
with them
surprised.
too, right? But yeah.
And then also, last but not least, we have another one from Drace for the $2. It says, Amatsu learning from Queen Koto. He's been cooking. So, yeah, Amatsu really turning people's opinions around with
for
this
real.
anniversary. I mean, I feel like that is kind of the way these things go, right? Some people, not everyone, of course, but there'll always be the loudest voices, I guess, in the community that will be fickle in the sense that choices will be made that they don't like, so then it's all Amatsu's fault and he's terrible, and then we get this anniversary and it's fire, and then it's like, okay, we like Amatsu now.
He's the GOAT.
Now
He's the GOAT.
Yeah, now he is. So it's one of those things you mentioned even before, like he is the main producer of the game, but it's not like he makes every single decision about like who the units are, what their kits will be like all of this stuff. Like it's not like he decides everything. So people act like whenever there's a fumble, it's his fault. And of course now the other way around, now of course he's the GOAT again because this celebration is good. So shout out to the boy.
I actually did think about something because you know how like it's calling it the worldwide celebration would be weird. What if they turn the worldwide into thank you?
Yeah, potentially. Because I suppose it's kind of weird to have a celebration called the worldwide celebration now when every single celebration in the game is worldwide because it's all at the same time. So,
Yeah.
that is kind of true.
mean, I don't know. I think honestly, when it comes to like that whole thing with the sync and what celebrations will be where, I think this year it'll be obviously not the norm because of course, it'll be like, this whole thing of they're trying to figure it all out and get everything synced up. But then I think next year will probably be the first year that we actually have like the full schedule of how things will be going forward for Dokkan, because obviously then there won't be like the shenanigans of the global first and, them trying to then meet and all that other stuff. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. That's it for all of the super chats and contributions for today's episode. Like we said, I appreciate you guys supporting the podcast. So thank you all very much.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, my headset disconnected and I'm like, I can't hear you guys spinning on that.
Bro, this is the tech issues episode, man.
Okay. I didn't hear what you said, Ningen. What did you say?
That was it for the donations and stuff. So
yeah,
yeah,
we're
shout out to
Gucci.
everyone.
There you go.
But there
So,
you go.
thank you to everyone for stopping by for this episode 24 of the podcast. That is all the topics we had to discuss for today. We'll be back next week when the part 2 LRs are officially out. We'll have the full details in the game, testing with them, and it's going to be tons of fun. Hopefully they don't fumble, but
I hope not, man. That is the one thing that I guess we still do have to worry is that if they do fumble the units, right? Like Ningen was saying earlier, I really don't think that they will, because if they've made this part 2 as big of a deal as they have, for them to then come out with the units and have them be not good would just be like shocking, frankly. But it is Dokkan, so anything can happen.
who knows, man? We'll see, but I have my doubts that he's not going to be good.
Yeah.
But we'll catch you all next week. Thanks everyone for stopping by.
Yes, sir.
And peace out.
Have a good
See
one.
ya.